in the Davanagar University campus offline. Now, I made a slight changes here and there, and then with the permission of the organizer, I thought that I should share some of my thoughts. Actually, Dr. Gowda was telling that I go to present these papers first. Then I told him that the proposal should come first and then research report. That is the order I thought I want to have. Now, in this presentation, quite often I refer the social science research, humanities, reports, thesis, dissertation, mimeograph, monograph, extraction of scientific paper and its format, etc. These are the keywords that I quite often use in the presentation. Now I have classified my presentation in 7 sections. The first section takes you to discuss about the introduction. Primarily here I discuss about why, what, where, etc. only, but in different concepts. And the second part takes us to understand the getting grip into the social science research. And the third section goes on to discuss about the preparation of report. And afterwards, in the fourth section, extraction of a scientific research paper from the research report will be dealt with. And in the fifth section, what exactly the scientific paper looks like will be discussed. And in the penultimate section, the initiatives, how a researcher can seriously get into preparing a research paper. And a research paper will be discussed. And finally, I wind up by drawing a few inferences from the presentation. This is how I have structured my paper. Now, morning, we discussed at length about the importance of social science research and also what makes an individual to get into social science research, etc. I think during the question and answer session, our lovable research scholar made a remark that there are difficulties in measuring the inferences at the field level, and also sometimes the biasness erupt in. That is why we always say the social science research is much tougher than the natural science research. In natural science research, by and large, everything is controlled. Say, for instance, 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 in India, even in Canada. Similarly, any scientific research which is taken in the laboratory show broadly the same results, whether it is done in India or in China. But unfortunately, with regard to social science research, it varies even within your neighborhood. If you are taking sample from your own area, there would be diverse views on the area that you are taking up for exploration. Therefore, it is a tougher job, and one needs to be very careful, objective, very shrewd, and also having a right thinking in the happening on the society. Now, having said this in brief, let me move on to understand what is the significance. Friends, there has been a tremendous impact, tremendous change on the day-to-day events starting from morning till evening on the human behavior. Whether you are going for shopping or whether you are going for show or you are engaged in some clerical task, it varies, it changes every now and then. Therefore, the need for social science research comes into being. Okay, how it is taken up, how it can be molded up. There are various efforts, various reasons an individual is getting into research. the demonstration effect. Suppose if anybody's teacher is getting PhD or PDF or delete, naturally his or her ward is interested to take up research, what we call in economics demonstration effect. Followed by that, you must also have some own interest, self-interest, self-perpetuated interest in you. There must be light in you which should be ignited for taking forward the social science research. And slowly but steadily, the thinking, the deep thought in social science research gets some shape in the infant stage when you are getting deep grip into literature survey. It comes. For instance, if you take back the whatever the print media said immediately after the COVID-19 lockdown, COVID-19 infection, there are tons and tons of literature and diverse views on the economy as such. Therefore, if you keep on reading, if you keep on assimilating, if you keep on digesting such a literature, you get various issues that can be taken up for research. Sometimes it is wonder, a research scholar will come to you, come to the guide and ask, sir, shall I take up production dimension or shall I take up distribution dimension or shall I take the consumption dimension? So, of course, any researcher in the beginning stage, after reading literature, need to get confusion. Then only the clear idea will emerge. And after thorough thought, with the thorough discussion with the peers, with the teachers, with the seniors, with the friends, neighbors, etc. Now, he gets into grip and slowly from the newspapers to magazines, from magazines to government reports, then serious literature published on the broad domain, you start reading and then taking down notes and grouping the issues in different dimensions. And also, as I told in the previous presentation, your research will also lead an individual to have rewards and to career building. And ultimately, all these lead to a kind of scholarly development in you. For all these reasons, an individual is interested in taking up research. And some of the guys like us in the initial stages of our graduation or post-graduation, we want to build a career in a specific domain of teaching, research, or both. Therefore, an individual is interested in shaping the profession through research. And after entering into that, there are compulsions from accrediting agencies at a local level and regional level, and also at international level, like IQAC, Internal Quality Assurance Cell, and also from the compulsion from the UGC for CAS, and also academic performance index for promotion at different ladders, starting from assistant professors to senior professor. And sometimes due to various local reasons or technical reasons, this may be held up for many years, many years. But normally, this is what being happened in some institutions. And also, there is a tremendous pressure on the competitive side. And unless until you become a serious researcher, it is very difficult, and therefore the competition is coming into to get fellowship and visitorship from premier institutions of national and international level importance. And with all that, you also get self-satisfaction, self-esteem, self-fulfilling satisfaction after seeing your bylines. And I think morning our friend was introducing me, stating that I have published more than 110 papers or so, including in Economic and Political Weekly. Frankly speaking, my career started with a letters to editor in the Hindu English newspaper. In the year 1988, I was in the CDS Trivandrum library, and there was a call from Isaac Bangalore. My junior research scholar telephoned me stating that, Rajendran, your latest editor column appeared in the Hindu English newspaper today. You please look into that. Then immediately I rushed to the readings room section, and then I found Rajendran from Bangalore. So at the moment you see your byline, your name in the print media, you get tremendous pleasure, tremendous satisfaction. So for that reason, somebody or some people take research as their profession. And then to establish name on a specific trust area, individuals will be interested in taking up research. And now we get into a social science research student, social science stream student, we get into research. How do we let your mind prey on the vast areas of social science issues? India is a peculiar country where we have diverse number of thousands of social groups, cultural groups, and therefore most of the social science researchers, not only within India, particularly from European countries and also America, USA, they flooded to India and take up research and they bring out very thought-provoking research output, because the Indian subcontinent has got a very strong cultural fabric for time immemorial, and every group has got its own uniqueness, and therefore the Western researchers are flooding to Indian subcontinent. I remember I read a very interesting book from the library of ICSSR, Bangalore, written by, I forgot her name, in the year 1955. She concentrated only in 3 villages, one from Tanjavur district of Tamil Nadu, another village from Mandya district of Karnataka, third one from Kuttanad region of Kerala. She titled the book called Rural Transformation in South Asia. Very wonderful book. It was brought out by Cambridge University, and even now it is a classic book for anthropologists. Therefore, the diverse social issues in India leads us to take up research, and in most of the cases, many researchers, not only from economics discipline, economics domain, but also sociology, anthropology, history, many foreigners come here and they take up research. And then there has been a tremendous change in the economic spectrum as such, the day-to-day activities like barter system to a strong money system, and then booming consumerism. Everyone is saying Indian market because of the population and also the increasing consumerism. Most of the Western products are flooding into India, and therefore the economic activity has been expanding, and any individual is keen into taking up research on the behavior of consumers. And of course, naturally, there is a behavioral change among the new generation, what we call X, Y, Z. The recent generation Z thinks that without their physical labor, everything they want to get it. So there has been the mental change and the behavioral change in these 3 types of generations. We always address our students. Look, in our days, we never got good clothes, we never got a good food, we never got a good facility for taking up research. Nowadays, everything is available in your fingertips. You can do wonders. But unfortunately, as I said in the morning, also our friend was remarking, the quality of research is declining. That is a bothering issue. And of course, the other dimension of the development is the booming consumerism is equally to all lead to ill effects on the faster economic growth, like pseudo lifestyle and development, adverse health impact, increase in immoral activities, dismantling of Indian cultural institutions. In the first line, we said India has got strong cultural fabric. But now at the end of the slide, we say dismantling of Indian cultural institutions, cultural system. For example, like a family value system. So all these all these influence the Indian researchers to think of taking up. And at the same time, we are all dynamic in the society. And therefore, the dynamic changes that are taking place around the world need to be captured in the capsule form, and therefore, social research effort comes into being. And also, I would like to very painfully say, modernity leads the other becomes order of the day nowadays. For instance, when we were young, I mean the generations like us, when we were young, going to hotel for taking breakfast or taking any time food is regarded as unscientific, immoral. Please remember this word. In colloquial language, they said that this guy will not come up as a good citizen if you go to hotel. But nowadays, what is the trend? If you are not taking your family out once in a week, you are branded as conjuice. You are branded as what you call the traditional guy. In other words, the homemade food has been shifted to hotel-made food everywhere nowadays. And of course, we are paying heavy price for that. And not only economists, not only the food scientists, not only the consumer behaviorists, the psychologists, everyone is worried about this kind of adverse changes. And I remember I posed a question to one of our professors who said that after 50 years from now, he spoke about in the year 1987, he said, we will be losing agriculture sector from the economy, which was unbelievable to my mind at least. And now the change has been taking place. The meat has been produced in the laboratory now. It has been permitted in Singapore. So these kind of advancement in science and technology, which do have the cost for health, but at the same time, this is the order of the day. We have to accept from homemade food to hotel-made or laboratory-made food. And all these, the changes also lead to lopsided development, not only local level, but also regional, national, and global level. Everywhere this has been disseminated, and the change is taking place at a global level. Because nowadays, the technology is making tremendous impact, tremendous transformation on the knowledge sharing and also the consumer behavior. Therefore, any change that are taking place in the local lead to affect at the global level, and therefore the changes, a kind of chain effect has at the regional, national, and global level. And also the modern lifestyle, modern society, modern development has been dismantling of interpersonal relationship. The modem of radio, television, mobile, revolutionizing the consumer sector. And of course, we have both sides, both positive as well as negative. And from the perspectives of older generation, the negative impact is more overtaking, overweighing the positive impact. And then corruption, everywhere. Without a corruption, nothing moves. Healthy disorders, increasing NPS, and there are voluntary NPS as well as the induced NPS, black money, and tax evasion. So all these kind of immoral activities are happening, and all these warrant the venturing into social science research in a serious manner. At the same time, all these also impacted in demanding solutions from social science researchers. Whether the research output is seriously considered by the policymakers or the planners or the political system, that is immaterial, but this is what is happening in the world now. Now let us try to get into the preparation of a report. And in morning we have at length we have discussed about the need for taking up research work through finalizing the research proposal. Now we have gone to beyond this step, wherein we have to prepare a report from the research work that you have carried out. Now here, the research can be taken up in different views, different perspectives. Like it could be theoretical, empirical, economic history, political economy, political history, like your Hoysala dynasty in Great Karnataka, Vijayanagara dynasty, both in Karnataka and also in Tamil Nadu. And the leading, one of the leading dynasties in Tamil Nadu is Chola dynasty, which was responsible for shipbuilding, etc. So these are the issues that can be taken up at a theoretical and empirical level by integrating economic, polity, and also the social issues. And in the pre-modern dimensions, we have the issues like regional disparities. If you take Karnataka, we have the concept of Hyderabad Karnataka, Bombay Karnataka, Southern Karnataka, etc. So each region has its own regional identities, regional uniqueness. And all these should be cemented by taking up empirical studies, and for which we have to venture into. And there has been a classic difference between the development in South India and North India. Invariably, we all glamour that the South Indian states are performing fairly well in the development indicators like vital statistics as compared to North India for various reasons, including the BIMAR status of some states due to the excessive population growth. And ultimately, we have come to a stage where the unique Kerala model of development is the only solution, only mantra for developing Indian subcontinent instead of imposing top-down policies to the ground. So all these theoretical, empirical dimensions should be explored for identifying, for developing models that can be replicated elsewhere or that can be implemented for effective development achievement. And also blending both theoretical as well as empirical research, like in the area of resource use efficiency in agriculture development, through subsistence farming system, sustainable farming system, commercial farming system, and the modern farming system. So each system within agriculture do have different orientation, both theoretically as well as empirically. All these need to be exposed in the perspective of social science research. Of course, this can also be captured in the natural science research. That is not our responsibility at this moment. Now, the researcher, social science researcher, from my understanding, should integrate both the historical perspectives of regional disparities and also the political dimensions of regional disparities. There are historical reasons, economic reasons, political reasons, and all these need to be integrated and explored for understanding the comprehensive perspective of development spectrum in a given region. It could be Tamil Nadu, or it could be in Kerala, or it could be in Karnataka, or within Karnataka, as I said, it could be northern Karnataka or southern Karnataka or Malnad region, etc. So the responsibility lies on the social science researcher to expose all these for a policy framework. And now let us get into a different social science report, like typical report and also evaluation reports and dissertations, thesis. There is a distinction between dissertation and thesis, monograph, mimeograph, and all these lead to a result, lead to take up a scientific research paper for, of course, the listed reasons already will pressurize us to prepare a scientific research paper. It could be for career building, it could be for promotion, or it could be for the institutional welfare as such. The researchers, if the researcher says that, yes, my paper has been published in the Nature, naturally, not only his department, not only his peer as such, but also the institution, whether it is college or university or institute, they get credit for the accreditation and also other assessment. So it is not the individual as such is benefiting, but also the entire system, entire institution gets benefited. And how do we extract a research paper from the report? As I said, there are many types of reports, many types of research output came out, like thesis, dissertation, monograph, then evaluation report, etc. How do you extract? I think most of the times what we do, the moment we complete our research, either for PG report or the MPhil dissertation or PhD thesis, we feel that everything is over. That is a kind of feeling a researcher gets in the present day. That is not true actually. The moment a person, an individual is getting PhD, it means he is given a token. That's all. He is recognized as a researcher. That's all. That is a stepping stone for him to take up serious research. Therefore, only the real research starts after his PhD. Therefore, after the moment he completes his PhD, he should get into extract research papers for whatever the reasons that we have discussed already, or whatever the reason an individual has. But immaterial about this, but he has to take up in extracting research papers and publish. Whatever the research thesis comes to me, I invariably make a line, I make a statement, I make a recommendation that the thesis has come out well and the researcher can publish a couple of research papers. But I'm very sorry to say, even myself, though I published 4 research papers, good research papers from a MPhil dissertation, from my PhD thesis, I was unsuccessful miserably to publish a good paper in any leading journals. And of course, I published a couple of papers in vernacular newspapers, but I miserably failed in it. My advice is the youngsters, they should take up in a very serious manner and to get into extract papers and publish it. Now, what is the scope in doing that? And you can get the guidance from the evaluation reports made by subject experts, as I said now, and also the support and encouragements from your own friends circle. They will insist, why don't you write a paper for the conference? Why don't you write a paper for these proceedings? Why don't you write a paper for concept paper for the government document? Something like that. Such encouragement should come from your own friends, close friends, well-wishers, the seniors, the senior researchers, teachers in your department, and then guides, and then the principal investigators of the project that you are involved, and then the project coordinators where you worked. And ultimately, as I recommended in the morning, you have to listen, you have to open your eyes for receiving the constructive criticisms and also suggestions from the peers, the well-wishers, etc., for further improvement of your draft. And sometimes what we feel, whatever we have prepared is in good shape, therefore we are elated, we felt very excited, thrilled, and we simply send it. Only after receiving the referee's reports, referee's comments, we come to know that, oh, these many flaws are there. So to cement all these flaws in the initial stage, you better give the draft to your own friends, your own well-wishers, the subject experts available nearby you, and then you give it for publication to the targeted journal. And then the relevance of the extraction paper in the contemporary world, it should be drawing attention of the readers or policymakers with immediate attention, immediate need. Like for instance, what is the implication of Russian-Ukraine war on energy consumption in India? What are the implications of the pulse economy in India? What are the impact of, what are the inferences, what are the influence of the edible oil seed consumption in India? These are the contemporary issues that should focus, that should come to the researcher's mind to take up. And of course, from the project report, you cannot focus on this. But what I'm saying is, the initial stage itself should have some contemporary relevance. And then the community's interest, where they are interested, like NPAs. NPA is a very serious issue, not only for bankers, but also for the investors, but also for the borrowers, but also for the common people, because it affects the entire economy. Therefore, an individual who is interested in doing a serious research with the macro as well as micro level data can take up some paper from the research work done. For example, recently I received a thesis on the financial inclusion of tribal communities in one of the neighboring states, and very good piece, very good information. And I suggested that a paper can be brought out that can be sent to NABARD sponsored journals, etc. So that kind of target one should have. And also the other issue is agrarian distress, demonetization, GST, pandemic, the protected zone status of Kaveri Delta, which was announced by the previous state government, and then soaring unemployment issue in India as such. So all these contemporary issues, all these glaring issues, all these societal oriented issues, all these economic aspects need to be brought to fore from the research reports. And thirdly, your research output, the paper, should have policy implications. It need not be merely presenting tables, charts, figures, etc. So ultimately, your publication should lead to make some fine tuning in the existing policies or framing new policies in the interest of the development. Format how a research paper can be or look like. Now, similar to that of research proposal title, your format should be very outright and also clear title, which do have clear title, which is unambiguity of incorporating many subtitles. For instance, recently I received one thesis again. It says the tribal livelihood system in the Western Ghats of South India. You need not give that much. Tribal livelihood system in Western Ghats or in South India, that's all. So instead of beating around the bushes, you can just straight away give the title, which should be unambiguous. If you need arises, you can give subtitle inside, and then page layout, what are the aspects you are going to give in different sections. That is what I mean, page layout. And then tables, appendices, notes and references. These are the minimum requirement a scientific research paper shall contain. And invariably, all research papers should have the abstract. Normally, to delineate the identity from main text, the abstract should be in italics form, indicating the single line presentation by hiding the author's identity, because sometimes the journal editor may send your paper for review by hiding the author's identity. Therefore, you better not to give your author's identity in the first page itself. You can give in the covering page and you can leave it. What we call blind review, etc. And also, you please provide a few keywords as I listed in the beginning of my presentation to make the reading more clear, to make the text more interesting and scientific. And the rule of thumb is any scientific research paper should be consistently logical and also consistently argument centered, limpidity, and also it should have lucidness. It should be very simple. If a reader is reading from the title till the references, he should get an impression that he has extensively read the report. It should not be more technical jargon oriented, etc. It should be very simple and also straightforward in arguments, providing suggestions, drawing inferences, recommending policy interventions, etc. And also, your arguments, even the report should have a relationship directly with the theoretical underpinnings and the policy oriented discussion should be there in the development dimension. So you please remember the rule of thumb is logical, consistency, limpidity, lucidness, simple, and it should be directly related with the theory and also the policy and the development dimension oriented. Now, having said this format, now let me take you to actually understand the introduction of how the argument should be there in the text of your scientific paper. Before getting into the serious discussion, you briefly outline the review where it warranted for you to take up a new study. Why your study is relevant, why your study is important, why your study is need of the hour at this stage. In other words, you just give the arguments put forth by the earlier studies in a very scientific form by listing out the issues in order, like global, regional, and national level. And also, you identify a few gaps, research issues, and research problems so that you can justify your study. Whether the existing studies or a group of existing studies are lacking in comprehending both the macro and micro level information, or they are lacking in terms of application of statistical tools, or in terms of coverage of the space, etc. So these are the critical issues that you would rise to justify your own study. And most of the times we don't do that. We straight away go to our objective and then we straight away go on making analysis. That is not the right way. We just highlight what is happening on the theme that you are extracting at the macro level. And you also identify a few issues. Certainly, any new study, any fresh study shall have listed out, shall have identified a few existing gaps that need to be listed to justify your own study. And it could be for and against, or only for or only against. However, you have to justify. And based on these issues, you frame a few objectives. In my experience, in my interaction with the experts, you give very limited number of objectives rather than going for listing out exhaustive objectives. Sometimes you see a thesis may have more than 10 objectives. No need. Only 1 or 2 objectives will do, but you can have many more sub-objectives, what we call the macro objectives and micro objectives. So therefore, all these can be integrated and explained in the discussion part. And then, as I said, methodologies like spinal cord of the human body, and the methodology is very important because it explains what kind of data you are using, what kind of data set you have identified, what are the difficulties you undergone, etc. And also the tools that you have used for collecting data, and then the tools that you have used for analyzing the data, and also the theoretical and also the conceptual framework that you have applied in your report and which you have extracted for the present paper. Sampling design, sampling size, the variables, and also the reference periods. These need to be directly related to your title of the paper. Please remember this. In the thesis and in the report or in the monograph, we have listed out more than 300 or 400 variables. But how many variables of these are relevant for your present paper? That is much more important. So you list out the variables that you are using in the present paper that you are extracting from the detailed report. And then you highlight the reference period, which is important because most of the times the reader keep watching about the reference period. For instance, I tell one very interesting report I received for adjudication. The researcher says that Nagapattinam and Mayiladuthurai district combined together, the candidate made an analysis on the ecotourism. And the thesis was submitted very recently, but the bifurcation took place in the year 2017-18 itself. So it is misleading. It is misleading the the reader. Therefore, I suggested that it should be delineated. Either you should restrict only Nagapattinam district or Mayiladuthurai district to highlight about the ecotourism. So therefore, the reference period is much more important, which gives exactly the normal period, normal year. It should not have extreme weather-oriented period, etc. And then now we come to analysis and the discussion section, where we use extensively the researchers from economics and econometrics. They use extensively the tables, facts, figures with notes, sources, etc. and also the unit values, graphs, charts, maps, pixels, and boxes. And friends, in economic research, we don't use much boxes and pixels. We use maps, charts, graphs, etc., tables, etc. But now the orientation has been changed, and we use photographs, and also we use boxes to explain various issues in the text. And also, you please remember, you try to use the local nomenclature, local names, so that the reader will get an impression that you have gone extensively to discuss, understand what is happening at the grassroots level. And you can highlight equal word in English, but better give maximum nomenclature, local nomenclature on important and interesting issues. And then summarize and conclude from your title till the last word of your reference. And sometimes we write the first paragraph or first section separate issues. The second section will deal with the different issues which may be totally unconnected to first section. It should not be like that. If you read the title and if you read the last word of your presentation, there must be some kind of correlation, some kind of coherence, some kind of lucidness. Therefore, please remember, each word, each sentence, each paragraph, each section shall have linkage with the next item. And then appendices, wherever the text or the graphs or the charts are large in number, large in size, you put them in appendices. And then you give the notes, and sometimes notes include acknowledgements for the people who have helped you to write the paper or extract the papers, or the ideas that you prepared from the presentations of seminars and conferences, etc., and give the references in the below notes section. Now let me come to the initiatives where we can focus, etc. Type of the article, there are many types. Review, you can review an existing article which was published in standard journals, and also you can have review on books that have been published by somebody else, and also commentary which has contemporary relevance, discussion on the existing issue. For example, hijab is a major issue in Karnataka now, because there has been agitation, and today the one section of the community asked for state level bandh. So you take up such issues and discuss, and also you can have notes, perspectives, and the guest column, edited book, and also special articles. What I mean guest column is, in the journals or the newspapers, identify a set of guests who can write on contemporary issues consistently or more regularly in their column. What we call as guest column. You can contribute to that as well. Invited article for special issue of journal or special section of journal. For instance, the Economic and Political Weekly brings out special issue on rural affairs, special issue on environment, special issue on banking, special issue on women's studies, and sometimes they bring special section. So you can contribute, you can extract a paper from a report and contribute to these as well. And also, from the seminars, conference, workshops, the proceedings may be summed up in a critical manner. They can also be sent for publications. This is more relevant for the youngsters, the research scholars who started their career in the tender age. And then you please target, you please aim standard journals. I mean, not only the policy making, but also wider readership. Known journals like Economic and Political Weekly, Indian Journal of Labor Economics, Artha Vijnana, Indian Journal of Labor Economics, Indian Economic Review, etc. And from the government publications, we have Kurukshetra, Agriculture Situation in India, Yojana, etc. And for my surprise, the journal, the magazine, it's not journal actually, it's a magazine. The magazine Yojana has been listed as UGC care list. That is very surprising to me, and which is one of the very good sources for civil service aspirants. And before sending the draft or before venturing into extracting a research paper, you please read the notes, guidelines for authors or contributors in a detailed manner so that you can use the style sheet very effectively. So we should not forget the fact. And also the researcher, the contributor, the author should present the draft before your own colleagues by keeping the positive approach to receive critical comments. Contact the subject specialist in your area. You can send the emails through emails and get the comments, etc. for improvement and also revision. Most of the times, in those days, I remember the experts used to visit our institute and we sat together and discuss on various issues, not only research papers, but also on the PhD work as well, and also regarding the employment. But nowadays, the people are very centric and they don't even bother to discuss with the experts. This is not a good trend. You utilize the opportunity, discuss with them, give your notes to them, your draft to them. They will certainly give their comments and the suggestions so that you can revise them for further improvement and further fine tuning. Send the research draft with the correct format, including word size, fonts, and more importantly nowadays, the plagiarism is a serious issue, and you can check yourself. If the journals ask, then fine. And most of the journals, they have their own plagiarism checking mechanism. They will do it. They can make out how much you have copied and what are the portions you have copied or you have taken as it is. As it is. 1 second, please. Sorry. And then fulfill the formalities. Sometimes some journals, they collect registration, processing or referee fees. In the name of many others, they collect. And then number of copies. I'm talking about the old-fashioned system, number of copies. Nowadays, you don't need that because you go to upload online. And then the type of copy, soft copy or hard copy, etc. Now, of course, everything is online only. Allow the editor to respond on referees' comments so that you will be having sufficient, you will be allowing the editor to reply in a very constructive form. And then based on the suggestions from the referees, you can revise the draft and resubmit to the editor. And again, sometimes you have to adhere to the time given by the referee, the editor for revision, and kindly acknowledge the sponsors of the study, the field investigators, the personnel, the computational assistant who helped you to frame the notes, the experts and referees who offered their critical comments and suggestions. And afterwards, you please constantly keep in touch with the editorial team for the updates, whether the revised paper has been accepted or it needs further revision, etc., so that your paper is not lost in the transit. Look for UGC care list, Scopus, and so on, the prestigious journals. I don't believe in UGC care list because one day a particular journal is included in the UGC care list, the next day it disappears. I don't know what is the yardstick they have. So therefore, I personally don't know, but for career building and academic prospects, we need to publish in the UGC care listed journals, and therefore you look for good quality UGC care listed journals. And all these are the career prospects in the years to come. And now let me conclude. I will take 2 or 3 minutes and we can have some discussion afterwards. And research is a kind of systematic and consistent work. You need to keep in touch with the research domain more consistently with a strong commitment And also introspection and professionalism is very important. Both are needed for serious researchers, and also adhere to ethics and objectivity. And sometimes due to personal reasons and other unwanted thinking, all these will be overlooked and enter into very nasty arguments, which should be avoided. Be conscious about the research work, research publication. Policy-oriented and societal-centered publication is most wanted. And you think in this regard, I would like to make a small piece of information to the audience. I remember I published a small piece of paper in Tamil when I was working in the University of Mysore. I had given the Mysore University address in Tamil because it was published in Tamil, and also the post pin code number. Friends, you may not believe, I received 350 queries from different parts of Tamil Nadu over various doubts on the theme. It was related to sustainable agriculture development. So I was really thrilled. I was delighted to receive as many as comments and queries, clarifications from the common people, rather than publishing a good paper in Economic and Political Weekly, which has been discussed only by a handful of eminent scholars. So your paper should have policy orientation and also societal centered development aspect. Academic accomplishments, it serves the purpose. And certainly exhaustive reading is essential for fine tuning. Even after the sincere guideship from your supervisor, exhaustive reading alone will make you to a polished researcher. Keep track of a particular area of interest so that your name and firm grows only around that. And then abreast the knowledge as a researcher, and also your research peers in the same school of thought, data sources, and then the institutions which are doing research in the area, and the important journals which you have been looking for research work of your interest. So now the bibliography section we came, and this is a very simple thing everyone knows. And for heaven's sake, take it very seriously. Sometimes we don't give scientific format in the bibliography and references as well. Whatever comes to our head, we simply present it and then forget. It gives awkwardness when you read the text after some time. Therefore, please make sure that everything is in order. That is why I call it as double check the references. And sometimes, very funnily, your wrong reference will go to the particular author. He will find it embarrassed to read his initials wrong or the title wrong, etc. So you please avoid that. So this is what I want to say in the second presentation on the title, preparation of research report and the extraction of scientific research paper in this wonderful afternoon. I wish everyone to have scholarly publications in your academic career. Thank you very much. Thank you, organizers, particularly Dr. Gowda and his team in the Davanagere University, Department of Economics, and all the audience who have been patiently listening. I'm looking forward to your critical comments, suggestions, and any other observations you would like to make on the presentations. You can take up the questions even from the previous presentation which I made in the morning. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. It was truly an insightful and informative session, particularly regarding scholarly writing and all that. And we are actually giving permission for all the participants, faculties, scholars, and the like. And you can just unmute yourself and you can raise any questions or queries you have to the professor. So if anyone has any questions or queries, you can just unmute yourself. Permission has been granted. And you can raise your questions to the professor. No questions. Again, I'm repeating, if any faculties or scholars alike have any comments or you want to ask any questions, you can ask the same to the professor. Or if you feel a bit uncomfortable, even you can send the question in chat box also. Anyway, sir, basically I have a question, sir. Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, so the question basically I had is, sir, I mean, I have actually published some 4 articles in care-listed journals, care-listed as well as Simago indexed journals. The first question I want to ask is, sir, actually publishing in a standard journals is one thing. I mean, yeah, I mean, it in itself actually is a very, it in itself is a very cumbersome task. But the thing is, once we actually publish it, the second mountain that the scholar must climb is to popularize it. To popularize it in the sense to get citations for it. So one is publishing, the other is getting citations. So thing is, how do we actually popularize the article that we have actually submitted to these care-listed journals? Because when we actually type our own this thing, like anything related to the article or something, ours will not be in the front page of the Google. Sometimes it will be in the second page, sometimes third page, and all that. And people are a bit impatient. Actually, they don't actually go to the second and third page. If they are actually scrolling, they'll just scroll whichever is there. So it obviously negatively works out for our citation thing. So how do we actually popularize the article that we have actually written, sir?
Yeah, it is very interesting point, and also disappointing as well for people like me, because I never uploaded my articles. And very surprisingly, I see articles which appeared in less standard journals than the original article appeared, got more citations. Very surprising. One of my articles got around 19 citations. Actually, that particular article was derived from already published article in Economic and Political Weekly, which got only 11 citations. So it is very intriguing to note that the substandard journal, I call it a substandard because EPW is supremely recognized by the academicians. The journal which carried my revised article in second time. So this is very difficult and also cumbersome. And more disadvantaged position for senior people like us is we don't know how to upload, where to upload. And there are many channels where you can upload the journals and the articles and then popularize it. Popularization, from my understanding, will come only the larger audience who reads it. I think with all my pain, I say, now nobody subscribes to the journals, nobody reads the journals, not even the titles. That is the saddest part that I have been observing. And even if you give some clipping, some reference to our students, unless until you remind them after 2 or 3 months, they will forget it. This is what I bitterly observe. Therefore, as a old time researcher, I have limited knowledge about uploading. But there are channels in which you can upload your publications and get citations in a very increased scale. And even my own contemporary researchers, they show something like 1,000 citations, hundreds of citations, etc., on specific group of papers. They do it, but even in their mail addresses, if you find, they put their address, the Google cited, etc. So I with regard to my experience, my understanding, I'm very poor in that. This is what I would like to say at this moment.
Okay, so that is one thing, sir. And the second thing is actually, I mean, it is a point I want to raise. I mean, it may be taken as a comment as well. Recently, I just sent one article for Delaware University, America, sir. It was actually American Economist, which is run by Delaware University. And the thing is, like, basically, my article was rejected by the editor. Like, the comment was, the language flow is not there. And citing that, the professor had actually recommended me a book which actually told me how to improve my writing. It was economical writing or something like that. So my question basically is, sir, actually, I mean, when even like a human development index or whatever it may be, like human development index, which was actually developed by Mahbubul Haq, and we have Amartya Sen, and we have Meghnad Desai. They have worked in collaboration and all that. So the thing is, the recognition for human development index came not from our nation, but from UNDP. Like UNDP actually proposed it, then it was actually the new parameter of measurement of development was acknowledged, and it was actually taken by the entire world. It changed the what do you call, the discourse of development was actually changed. What I'm saying is, if at all our words, or if at all our, what do you call, our ideas must actually make a larger impact, it has to be acknowledged by the international community. Even Swami Vivekananda was also acknowledged and was respected in India only after the International Religious Conference of Chicago. The same can be said by Gandhi as well. Same can be said to Gandhi as well. So what I'm saying is, even now, even Amartya Sen also the same story. What I'm saying is, or the point I want to raise is, unless and of course the Western community accepts the scholarly capacity of the scholars in question, it is not, rarely we find that Indians acknowledge Indians. So in this context, I just want your opinion regarding two points. One is how much necessary is it for the scholars to be adept in English to actually make a mark in their chosen field? That is first question. How much necessary is it for the scholars to be adept in English in order to make a mark in their chosen field, given the globalized community and its impact on academia as well? That is the first question. And the second question is, how, I mean, is as far as your experience is concerned, is the university taking the steps in right direction to create a conducive environment in which it is actually, you actually told in the first session that multidisciplinary approach is the need of the hour, but a multidisciplinary approach cannot be just restricted to some social or history or economics collaborating together. Multidisciplinary approach must actually be an approach of thought as well. If I am an economist, I should be knowing what George Bernard Shaw also tells, how William Shakespeare is a storyteller, or how John Grisham is a storyteller. Even I should be a storyteller in that. Otherwise, I cannot convey my ideas to a layman politician who is ultimately in charge of making policy initiatives and all that. So the thing is, two questions I'm asking. The first question is, how much relevant English is in order to make our ideas heard at international community? And the second question is, this multidisciplinary approach must not be just collaboration of departments, it must also be collaboration. I should be reading the things which are not of my subject. I should be reading good literary works to become a good scholar. How much universities are actually imbibing this in their scholars, according to your experience, and what can be done to better our writing skills? So these are the three questions. These are the three questions I wanted your opinion regarding.
Yeah, very, very interesting and also challenging, thought-provoking questions. The first question with regard to language orientation, certainly language makes much difference, much impact, no doubt about it. But please remember, let us not glamorous about English as such. Why do you bother about publishing paper in American Economic Review? What about Indian Economic Review? Our paper publications should deal with our society, which helps either policy or development of our country is concerned. No doubt at a global level, when you are competing, when you are publishing research papers, and of course it should go with standard English as they expect, no doubt about it. But there are many, I think, instrument and software packages are available, even to convert your very poorly written, poorly drafted script. I have not ventured into that. I don't know the app as well. There are some software mechanisms which can give very sound draft. It automatically it gets translated, it gets revised. That is what I heard about it. So my point is, and as long as we have the glamour for white skin, I mean, I'm not insulting the white skinned guys. As long as we talk about the glamour in Western society, Western culture, Western style of living, we have that kind of inferiority complex. Let us not bother about it. And how China is progressing, how Russia is progressing. Do they bother about English? Do they bother about their international language, etc.? Don't they grow? What about the Japanese? They have their mother tongue. They give priorities to mother tongue. They scholarly come up. So from my perspective, if you want to compete at a global level, if you want to go to international level, certainly language is much important, and we go to it. And I think from my understanding, from my reading, my listening, Indian language in English is not that much bad. Of course, the standard journals may expect standard language writing, standard language reflection, etc. I think there are mechanisms which can be set right. I think I have responded to the first question. When it comes to the question of second question, yes, what I meant to say in the morning, interdisciplinary transborder research is really, that is what I meant. It is not just walls and nuts and bolts of agriculture university collaborating with the conventional university, with the medical university. It is understanding of what is happening in the domain of the topic which they have taken up. That is what I meant. Take, for instance, if you want to understand the economic implications or the implications of COVID-19, there are a variety of issues, emotional. I think on the other day, I read a small piece. You may be wondered. The pandemic has affected the sexual behavior of couples. Very, very interesting. If you deeply read the literature, read the write-up, you wonder how it has changed the family fabric itself. So it is not just merely economics, it is not merely psychology, it is not merely the medicine, it is not merely the history. There are very many issues that need to be comprehended. That is why we take up the collaborative research, transbordering, campus, departments, and the disciplines. I think I forgot the third point, sir. What is it?
Sir, actually, yeah, the third question was, okay, so third question I'll just raise later, sir. But the thing is, I just have one supplementary note for the first answer you actually gave.
Yeah.
The supplementary point I want to raise is, when we actually speak about Japan, when we speak about China, when we actually speak about Russia, in top 100 universities, they have fair share of their universities in top 100. But whereas India is actually concerned, in Indian universities, top Indian universities doesn't even show in top 200 universities of the world ranking. And moreover, when we actually see the econometric tools which are actually used by Indian universities, even if we take IIT Bombay, or even if we actually take Jawaharlal Nehru University, even if when we take a time series analysis, the best state-of-the-art tools these people are actually using they're using vector error correction model, autoregressive distributed lag model. All these, although they may be advanced, but the thing is, they are actually 1986 versions. I have actually gone through the articles which are published by IIT Bombay people, articles published by JNU, articles published by American Economic Review. And the thing is, American Economic Review, when they're actually writing articles, they're actually writing articles constructing new econometric tools. Our people, if they're writing articles, they're actually writing articles with the econometric tools which are 30 to 40 years outdated. They're actually using tools which are of 1986 version, 1988 version, and that is the sad, and that is the reason why the Nobel Prize more often than not goes to the Western people, because they're actually using state-of-the-art models. They're building new models, whereas we are just copying the new models. And my fascination of getting published in American Economic Review is not fascination towards white, but the thing is, I want to compete with the best, because those people are actually using the state-of-the-art econometric tools, as opposed to us who are actually using like 30 years outdated thing. And if American universities are in top 10, I don't think that it is in top 10. In top 10, 8 universities belong to America, not because of some bias. But the thing is, the proof lies in the pudding. That is to say that top 10 universities, 8 belong to America, top 100 universities, around 48 belong to America, and America is the richest country in the world. America is the richest country in the world because it has the state-of-the-art research and development facilities. American universities are not the top because America is the richest. It is American universities are doing state-of-the-art research, and that is why America is on top. And I want to actually publish in America because they are actually doing state-of-the-art. So the thing is, if I compete with the best, I will learn something. So here, before raising the third question, the question I want to I want your view on this.
No. Sorry for the interruption. Can I react to your observations just now you made?
Please, sir. Please.
And then you can go to third question. So that means the language is not the barrier then, right? Your first question,
sir,
language is not a barrier. Only thing is the infrastructure, the facilities, the standing of the individual research institutes or universities. That is right. I think we should be celebrated in the country, in a poor country, in a backward country, with all these limitations of options of modern software packages, etc. We could publish, we could stand. If you go to any standard universities around the world, you find 1 or 2 Indians, maybe Bengali, maybe Tamil, maybe Kannadiga, they will be there. They will be doing work. So that part, I think, it is the structural change that we need to push credit flow or push the financial resources to research institutions and also the universities. Standing at 200 or 100, with all difficulties, even Indian institutes are standing and coming very closer to them. In spite of all these difficulties, we have political differences, we have what you call resource constraints, we have number of other hurdles. In spite of all that, we are struggling. No doubt about it. Now you please go to this third point.
Third question, sir. So the third question is, what should I do to become a better writer, sir? Better writer in academic as an academician. How can I write better scholarly articles, sir?
Yeah, that's a very disappointing point, and I think there was a discussion as you mentioned in the morning. I was in the search panel for Vice Chancellor, and do we go straight away to rank them based on the publications or based on the administrative experience, based on the extension activities? How do we go about it? Because the experts come from different domains, different temperaments, different institutions, different ideologies, etc. So at that time, we sat together, we started giving importance. I think this is actually a private issue that, however, it is relevant to higher education. I come to that argument. We sat and also we give some broad indexes, broad ideas, broad variables, so that we can pick up the good people. And then there was an idea, there was a suggestion emerged from a senior professor who said, look, if you give only these kind of weightages, you will be ending up picking only the science faculties. So you please allot some portion of the representation to social science and humanities, so that it gives equal weightage for other disciplines as well. That is what we could do. And after a certain stage, we found that only male experts were there, and there was no representation from female. Therefore, I think when we are making this very disturbing methodology to pick up a person, to pick up a candidate, to pick up a professor to lead the university, imagine how difficult we have at the local level as an individual teacher. And after a certain stage, the teacher will become desperate. He would feel that it is better not to take the research project because a lot of hurdles are there in the administrative side, the financial side, in the management side. So we can think of comparing the private institutions with the government institutions now. You can compare the IISc with the VIT in Vellore, the SRM institution in Chennai, and also other private like Ashoka University. And in Delhi, there is one university where Dr. Pulapure Balakrishnan writes quite often. So there are institutions, private institutions, which are coming up. And why our politicians, why our political group, why our political class is very systematically trying to silence the educational system with e-learning. And we are famous for Takshashil and other Nalanda universities in the world, and we claim that we are superior in education system, innovations, etc. That is true, but now what has happened in the recent past in the policy making or in the decision making level? So I think this is a larger issue which need to be discussed at different levels to take up the issue to higher order. And I would like to make a small one illustration how our education is going depleted. Suddenly, during 1992, we received a letter from the UGC stating that if a person passes out or completes the MPhil after 1992, he is not eligible to become assistant professor in the college or university. That is a circular we got. And after a couple of years, this was extended to 1995. When we deeply inquired with the administration in the UGC, there was a talk, there was a confession that it helped a certain group of students, a certain group of relatives, those who are working with the UGC. If these kind of decisions are taken, I think we can imagine how the higher educational institutions are functioning in India. So I think I am sure that such a system cannot be allowed to function either in Japan or in USA. So I think everyone takes it as granted, and then the real workers, the serious researchers get sidelined, and automatically the entire system is in the substandard situation. This is what, with all my pain, I say.
Sir, last question, sir. How can I improve my writing as a scholar, sir? How can I improve my writing?
Yeah, this is a very genuine question and a very seriously concerned question. Even now, I think I'm running 62. Even now, after having published hundreds of articles and participated in hundreds of conferences and seminars as resource persons, my MPhil guide, not PhD guide, unfortunately, my PhD guide is no more. My MPhil guide says your English is to be improved. Your language is to be improved. That is what he says even today. And he suggests quite often you read this software package, etc., so that your language will be improved. So language is one dimension. You need not bother about language as such. But from my experience, from my own experience, you consistently you focus on a specific theme, whatever the model, whatever the area of interest that you have. You read elaborately the literature available in that area. At a certain point of time, after a certain point of time, certainly you will get interest. You will get into writing, drafting, revising, discussing with the subject experts, and I think it will come out in a good shape. And that is how my writings in Economic and Political Weekly, I have published 13 papers, and 3 papers have been accepted, and very long back some papers are accepted and they were not published. So it doesn't mean that I'm good at English, and it doesn't mean that I'm poor in analytical skill. So what I'm trying to say is your consistent, your hard work, your touch in the willpower in the research certainly take you to newer heights.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. It was well thought out and answers which actually came from your wisdom. We are very much truly blessed to have got a share of your wisdom and experience, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Again, we are giving last opportunity. If any participants wants to raise any question to the professor, the participants can do so. Okay, I don't think any of the participants are interested.
Okay.
I don't think any of the participants have any questions.
Can I make
behalf of department? Yes, sir.
Yeah, please, can I make it just a few observations?
Please, sir. Please.
Yeah. I thank you very much. I think some of my students as well as the colleagues are in the they are participating in the program. I wish all of them, and also I wish Dr. Gowda and the Department of Economics in Davanagere University to reach newer heights in higher education, particularly in research. I wish the young research scholar who have been coordinating the event a very bright future, Thank you all for your patient hearing, patient listening. Thank you.
On behalf of Department of Studies in Economics, Davangere University, as well as Research Scholars Forum, as well as ICSSR, along with all the faculties and research scholars who participated in this teaching learning endeavor, we wholeheartedly thank you for all the wisdom and patient lecture that you provided us, sir. It was enriched with your wisdom and experience. And it was our utmost pleasure that we had the fortune of listening to your words. We are truly enriched by your experience and wisdom. We wholeheartedly thank you, sir. With your permission, I'll be ending the session, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. So we'll be ending the session, and again tomorrow we shall be meeting at 10 a.m. All the participants, please come tomorrow by 9:55, 10. Bye, take care, and thank you very much, sir. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.